Good day. Today my task is to show you how to create a centering guide for your Creative Memories circle cutter. I'm going to assume that you know how to use a circle cutter and make cuts with this tool. I will put a link in the description below because Creative Memories has an excellent video on how to use the circle cutter itself. My goal today is to help you create a guide in which, if you have to make multiple cuts with this tool on a piece of paper and you need to know where the center of that piece of paper is, it will help you do that. And if you're making multiple cuts, you do not always have to hold the circle cutter in place and keep it steady while you do your adjustments. This is great for people who may have arthritis or just accidentally bump and lose their place, that they can quickly regain where their center is on their paper without having to mess up their whole project. So let's get started. In order to make your centering guide, you are going to need a 3x3 inch post-it note. You are going to need 1 or 2 zero centering rulers, a pencil, and of course your circle cutter. To create my design, I'm going to create my note vertically, but you can always rotate it to make your final cuts in the end, whatever way works best for you. So in order to start, we will take our post-it note and we're going to center it on our mat. It's a 3-inch note, so you need to go 1.5 inches up, 1.5 inches to the side. So I'm going to set a bar here at 1.5 inches. And note, if you are using your zero centering ruler on your mat, you know you have it perfectly square in all directions. If when you set it down on the paper, all your grid lines disappear. Your white lines will disappear under the lines of your ruler. So I've got one in that direction there. I'm going to set 1.5 inches out on this side, and this just gives me a quick square to line up my post-it note. So we're along that line, and you can see we're perfectly in between all these two squares. Next thing we're going to do is create a center right down our post-it note. So I'm going to go again across my lines on the page and put my 0 down there, and you'll see how all my white lines disappear underneath my mat. I need to go up a little bit, and you know you've got a good center. There's one going in this direction. There we go. That's 2. So this gives us our center point for marking things and looking for our guidelines here. Now, in order to place the ruler itself on it, we want to mark the width of this tool. I did add a sticky note on here so you can see the tool itself is, when I line it up, it's 1 5/16 over the center on both sides of my note. So 1 5/16 is basically 1 inch, 1/4, and 1 hash line on either side. So that's what I'm going to mark on my post-it note here. So I'm going to go to my center, and I'm going to mark 1 1/4 and 1 hash line there, and 1 1/4 and 1 hash line here. And I want to do the same thing again at the bottom of my page here. That's at 1.5, that's at 1.5. Everything's centered this way. 1 1/4 hash line here. Oh, 1 hash line, not 2. So then I'm going to mark these 2 that I have in place. one line there, and one line on the center there. That's that one I shouldn't have marked. So now when I place my tool on my post-it note, it should fit snugly in between these two lines. So this is my center point for my trimmer. So whenever I place this on top of my trimmer, whatever dimension I'm going to use for my measurement on the slide guide, right? You can set it wherever you want. You're always going to make sure that your ruler is in between the two lines, and then wherever my center is, I'm going to line that up with my line across the outside guide. Now you can work vertically like this, or you can work in this direction, whatever works best for you. Okay, I'm gonna pen these lines in to make sure they're nice and secure, and then I'll show you how to work it on a piece of paper. Alright, so if you're set for an example of this new centering tool in place, I'm gonna make a reminder note that this is 1.5 inches up from the center line. So you're always gonna place this in the center of everything. So for my example, I'm gonna make a circle ring in the center of a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, one at the 6-inch mark, one at the 5-inch mark, so I create a 1-inch band. So I'm gonna take my note off here. I'm gonna place my 12 by 12 sheet of paper on my mat, and now I want to center my new note in the middle of this. So again, we know it's 1.5 up, so 1.5 here, and 1.5 at the square out this way, and this is where our note should go. So if I stick that down on my piece of paper. So I've created my square and placed my note in the T-square. Just to double check, if I slide my ruler down to the 6-inch mark here, I should be across my 0 line here, which I am, and again in this direction, if I slide across the vertical, I am in my place. So this note is now centered on my page. I said I was going to make a 6-inch circle, so I'm going to take my circle cutter, set this one at the 6-inch mark, like so. I'm placing my cutter in between my two grid lines, and I am just going to verify that my center at the bottom is centered as well on the 6 there. On the 6 there, I'm in between my two lines, so I can hold that down, engage my cutter, and cut my 6-inch circle. And take away this piece of paper, and I have my lovely 6-inch circle. Now you can see I've removed my cutter, right? So now I'm going to go set it again at the 5-inch mark on the cutter, down to the 5-inch mark. Because I have my sticky still centered on the page itself, I should be able to center that, rotate it, center that. We are now at the 5-inch mark. Can engage my cutter and go around. And even though I have removed everything, I still have a perfectly centered second cut off my original piece of paper. So take your little note that you've created, store it with your trimmer, and then whenever you go to use it, if you need to center something, you do have it on hand. under here and stick it there, and it won't go anywhere. Ready to use. I hope you're able to master the Creative Memories Circle Cutter tool with the tips I've given you. You will need it to work through the next 2 videos I'm making on breaking down and creating page layout designs using this cutter to emulate the sunrise sunset template and the slices of life template. If you're in Canada and not working with a Creative Memories advisor and you need one of these circle cutters, I'd be most honored if you shop through my site. Again, thank you for supporting my channel, and I look forward to adding more helpful content for you.